I'm going to tell you a bit of a story here, and this is how it went. So for about a year and a half to almost 2 years, we looked at places in and around North London, Camden, Kentish Town specifically. The first property we saw was this house that we're in right now. We saw it and we were like, this is it. This is perfect. Online. We saw it online. This is amazing. We got hold of the agent at the time and it had already been sold. Over the next year and a half, we compared every single property we saw to this one that we're in now. We went, this place is great, but it's not that one. We saw it online at about midnight. It had come back online. We contacted Martyn Gerrard, Annie, first thing in the morning. She was on top of it. Within half an hour, we were here in this property looking at it. By the end of that day, we had an offer in and our offer accepted. So if it wasn't for Annie and wasn't for Martyn Gerrard, we actually wouldn't be in this house. The fact of how quickly she reacted, how quickly she was on the ball, getting back to us, communicating between us and the sellers, it was just a done deal. And yeah, without them, we wouldn't be in our dream home. We actually used quite a few agents in the process. We did about probably a 2-year process when we were looking, and it went in ebbs and flows between, what we liked, what we didn't necessarily like. We went through quite a few agents, and it was always quite specific to a property. So the agent was attached to a property, necessarily going through one agent and getting them to look on our behalf. And Martyn Gerrard was head and shoulders above. I mean, can't even compare them. Annie was just fantastic, so communicative and just so personable and so easy to get along with and so trustworthy. We knew that if we asked something or if we needed a response on something, before we even thought to go back to them and say, how are we doing with this? Annie was on it and she came back to us before we even knew we needed her to come back to us. So other agents that we did use in the area couldn't come close to what Martyn Gerrard was able to offer to us. Looking at agents and working with agents, us being new to buying in London, we weren't really familiar with in terms of what we were looking for. What quickly became established is what we weren't looking for. So the response rate of people getting back to us, how quickly they could deal with us, how knowledgeable they were about the area, the industry, things especially even from solicitors' point of views that we didn't even know about. And Annie and Martyn Gerrard just head and shoulders above everyone that we dealt with. There was never ever something that they couldn't answer. And if they didn't know on the spot, guaranteed would get an answer back within half an hour, or if there wasn't an answer within half an hour, there'd be we're still working on it, we'll come back to you. The communication process for us was key, not wanting to be left in the dark and not knowing where we are in the stages, what we need to do, what's expected of us. Not knowing those things, we almost didn't have to worry about it because Martyn Gerrard and Annie just took care of everything. And they were just, next you need to do X, Y, and Z, and this is what expected of you. But the communication flow that for us was key. Having to not have to push for answers. There was just that constant communication flow and just being on top of everything. And they delivered hands down against all of that. Trust was very important through this process. And without question, from the word go, from the first time that we met, Annie and everyone at Martyn Gerrard, just you could feel that there was trust there. You could feel that it's a family. And we almost felt part of that family as well. We felt like we were part of the team almost, which was an amazing feeling. You don't get that from, I'm not going to say many other agents, you don't get it from any other agents. So that feeling of trust and knowing that we were secure in their hands, that was a big thing for us and really could feel it the whole way through the process. We had pleasant interactions with our other agents, but the trust, the communication, it just wasn't quite there. You just didn't feel like they were always on your team. Whereas with Martyn Gerrard, you knew that they were going to bat for you, they were going to get the best deal for you, and they were going to do it as quickly as they possibly could for you, And even when there were little hurdles or stumbling blocks, which are completely expected, in this industry, you always knew and you were always kept up to date. And you were always told what was happening, where you are in the process, how long it potentially could take or not take. Whereas I experienced with some other agents where you just didn't hear from them, like literally didn't hear from them ever again. And you just, you didn't get that sense like you were important. With Martyn Gerrard, you feel from the first minute that they're on your side and you matter to them. To put it down to one thing that impressed us the most, I think is quite difficult. There are many, many things that they just impressed us on, and were head and shoulders above anyone else we had dealt with. I think the communication was completely like shining star. The personability, just the empathy, from Annie and the whole team there, you could, as I said, before, you could feel that they were on your side and wanted to do the best for you, which is great. So the experience dealing with Martyn Gerrard was definitely one of, I didn't feel like a number. Whereas in some other agencies, I felt like, well, it's just another transaction, whether it's you or it's somebody else, doesn't really matter. So Martyn Gerrard wasn't like that at all. It definitely felt like I was a person. We were a family. My wife and I were in this together with them, and we definitely felt like they were responsive and respectful of those needs. Look, it's a small thing that we could hopefully do for Annie and for the team at Martyn Gerrard. The amount of stuff they did for us and the sacrifices and time and effort and energy they put into bringing us into our dream home, it's just such a small thing that we can give back in some way to say thank you, I guess, for all their hard work and dedication. And I couldn't recommend them any more highly. And Annie's an absolute shining star. Recommendation of Martyn Gerrard. It's unquestionable. If we are ever in a situation where we are moving or buying or looking for an additional property, it's not even going to be a question. We're not even going to go anywhere else. It's a straightforward, done deal for the rest of our lives. We will go nowhere else.